Vilsack.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's great to be with all of you today. I started out life in an orphanage in the Hill District of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I grew up as a Steeler, Pirate, and Penguin fan, and I am still a Steeler, Pirate, and Penguin fan today. Look, you've had some great speakers in the last couple of minutes, so I feel a little bit nervous about this. I'm not sure I can meet the standard that Pete set for all of you. But here's what I can tell you. When I grew up and I took Pennsylvania history, they told me that Pennsylvania was the Keystone State. Now, let me tell you something. You are the Keystone State in this election. Make no mistake about it. You are ground zero. You are the most important state in this entire process. Why? Because if we win Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris is President of the United States, Tim Walz is Vice President of the United States. If Bob Casey wins, and I believe he will, then we'll have control of the United States Senate with President Harris and Vice President Walz. And you've got some extraordinary members of Congress. Bring them back, add to them so that we can have a Democratic House. With a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate and President Harris and Vice President Walz, there's nothing we can't do as a country. We can build on the progress of the Biden-Harris administration. We can rebuild the middle class. We can expand access to health care, and we can restore reproductive health services and rights for every woman in America today. Now, to do this, you obviously got to do well in Philly. I get it. Absolutely. Got to have the vote. You got to do well in Allegheny County. You got to do well in Pittsburgh. Absolutely. Got to do it. But let me tell you, the key to victory, squeezing those margins in those rural counties. And if you don't believe me, ask Senator Fetterman about that. That's how he got elected. So here's what you need to do. You need to make sure that folks out there in rural Pennsylvania understand that Democrats have invested in their future. Now, Pete couldn't talk about it because he's the Transportation Secretary, and the Hatch Act prevents him from talking about what he's done in transportation. Doesn't prevent me from talking about it. Do you know that we are investing in a rural transit system in rural Pennsylvania and across America with resources under the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure law that's going to allow folks in rural places new vehicles and new transit systems to make sure that they have adequate transportation. You may not have known that. You may not have known that this is an administration that for the first time ever put real resources behind connecting rural Pennsylvania in terms of broadband and high-speed internet so that everybody in Pennsylvania has access to that technology. You may not know that the roads, the bridges, all of the construction that's taking place is a result of investments by a Democratic administration, and in large part with investments that are being made without much Republican support. You may not know that water and wastewater systems are being invested in, that housing is being expanded, that opportunities for clean energy, an enormous opportunity for Pennsylvania. Now, Donald Trump was in Pennsylvania yesterday, and he was trying to scare people, as he always does, by suggesting that the energy future for the country is bleak under Democratic control. Well, I want you to know something, and I want you to tell your friends and neighbors in Pennsylvania about this. We have had more energy production of all kinds. Let me repeat that. We have had more energy production of all kinds in this administration than in any previous administration, including the Trump administration. This is a guy who lies when the truth would serve him better. And we've got to tell our friends and neighbors about that. We've got to tell our friends and neighbors that expanded access to health care for seniors, so important in rural communities, is a result of a Biden-Harris opportunity to lower drug costs, which a Harris-Walz administration will continue to expand, saving seniors money, those who are living on fixed incomes. We know that rural hospitals are getting more support. More nurses are being trained. In other words, this is an historic investment in rural Pennsylvania, unlike any we have seen. You've got a great governor. You have a great governor. You have a great Secretary of Agriculture. You've got great people working within the state. They have a federal partner, and we'll have a better federal partner, more federal partnerships, if we have a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and President Harris and Vice President Walz. It is up to all of you. Now, one last thing I want to say. You know, the Trump administration, these guys are amazing. This guy Vance, he's going around talking about the Trump economy, the Trump economy. Now, the problem with his conversation about the Trump economy is he's acting as if 2020 never existed, that we didn't actually have a 2020. You remember that year. That's the year that President Trump mismanaged COVID. That's the year that people unnecessarily died. That's the year that we saw unemployment go to 8.4%. That's the year we saw businesses shuttered. That was the Trump economy that President Biden and Vice President Harris inherited when they took office in January of 2021. This was not rosy morning in America economy. This was doom and gloom economy. Our president, our vice president, soon to be our president, turned things around. They invested in us. They believed in us. And so we've grown the economy. Record number of jobs. Record expansion of health care through the Affordable Care Act. Record small business startups. Record wage increases above and beyond rates of inflation, which are, by the way, coming down. And if your friends and neighbors talk about the cost of food, here's the good news. The inflation rate for food in grocery stores is now 1%, which is 1/2 the 20-year average. In other words, it's lower than the 20-year average of food inflation. So it's coming down. We're working on it, and we've got an administration that will continue to do tremendous work in this space. So Pennsylvania, I'm asking you to take this message to every corner of the state, every town, every community, every neighborhood. Knock on doors, talk to your friends and neighbors. Make sure they understand democracy's on the ballot, the future of this country's on the ballot, the opportunity to deal with climate change and expand access to health care and restore reproductive rights, an opportunity for America to continue leadership in the clean energy economy and the clean, climate-smart economy, an opportunity to transition our country so that the middle class, as the President likes to say, from the bottom up and the middle out, continues to grow and expand. I know of no more important people in this entire process than the people in this room. You are the folks who understand how to get it done. You are the folks who have constantly won over the last several cycles. You are the folks that have to give us hope in every other state that Pennsylvania will be in the right column on November 5th, that Pennsylvania will elect Bob Casey, that Pennsylvania will bring Democrats to Congress, and that we will have a brighter and better day, and we will be rid once and for all of Donald Trump. We're not going back. We're only going forward. Now, if you want to, and I'm going to finish with this, if you want to know how to capsulize all of this in something very understandable, I'm going to tell you a secret. Everything you learned about politics, you learned in driver's education. It's really pretty simple. If you want to go back, you put it in R. If you want to go forward, you put it in D. Thank you all very much.
All right, how about another